twilight had left the window glass. The cobblestones were bright. A little bell gave one soft sigh and crossed into the night.
The velvet kept the carriage warm. The brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked thinner than a dream.
We crossed the bridge above the quay, where starlight touched the black,
and every little silver chime seemed like a calling back,
till the bell went faint. The whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint. One woman left with parcel string,
one wan man with coat and cane.
Their footsteps found the cobblestones,
then vanished into rain.
I should have kept my hat in hand
and let the car move through,
yet every stop the bell grew small
and sounded more like you.
The window kept one thread of star.
The wires gave back a sigh.
A little hush of reverie
rode softly passing by.
No serenade came through the street,
no voice spoke out my name,
only the rails beneath the floor,
and all the night the same.
And yet I think some partings live,
not in the heart alone,
but in the way one silver note
can make a city known.
Till the bell went faint, the whole dark city seemed to sway and pull old afternoons my way, till the bell went faint. The final corner took the car. The lamps grew pale and few. Still one last ringing crossed the bridge and traveled on with you.
By 6 the lamps were humming low above the scuffed oak floor. The altos shook the weather from their coats beside the door. You stood behind the second stand with your case against the chair, and drew the bow across the cake till powder touched the air. A trumpet tried one careful note, a stand was raised an inch. You tucked the loose page under mine before the maestro flinched. No one but I would likely see the white dust on your skin, or how you turned the peg once back to bring the A back in. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb, pale as the proof that quiet things can sing. You touched the bow, the room grew still, and every chair and windowsill seemed waiting on the smallest living string. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb. The cellos found the darker line, the clarinet came through, the conductor tapped his baton twice, and all the pages flew. You never leaned beyond your part, nor played for any praise. You only counted rests so well, you steadied all our ways. At intermission by the urn, you stirred your tea once round, then brushed the sugar from your glove without the slightest sound. You asked if bar 43 still troubled me to read, then marked it with your pencil tip and let the question be. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb. I thought it merely dust from ordinary art, till every patient stroke you drew made something accurate and true, where all the restless noise had been at heart. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb. Years may take the folding chairs, the winner scores, the drafty room, the civic seal above the stage, the coats, the kettle, the tune, but some things do not leave with holes the way one person, by attending, can make a wavering phrase hold fast and keep an evening from its ending. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb. It comes to me whenever lamps come early on, not merely chalk from horsehair drawn, but one small sign the night had found, a hand that knew how to carry music on. The rose in on your thumb, the rose in on your thumb.
The rink had turned the windows white, the benches shone with cold, and every scarf along the rail was red or blue or gold. You stood behind the rental shelf, with skates in numbered pairs. A pencil through your auburn hair, a mitten on the chair.
The children cross the rubber mats with ankles stiff and proud. Their mothers called above the band, the bright brass music loud.
One little boy came limping back, his left foot pulled too sore. You knelt beside the wooden bench and said,
"One loop looser."
You did not laugh at how he frowned or hurry him along,
You eased the lace beneath your thumb
until the tight felt wrong.
One loop looser, that was all you gave.
Room enough for one small foot
To learn how to be brave.
One loop looser.
I watched him find the floor
And thought how gently care can hold,
by holding not so hard.
A girl spun twice and caught the rail.
A whistle clipped the air
The coca cups went paper thin.
with steam above the stair.
You rubbed the blade with flannel once
Then checked the buckle pin
and sent him toward the silver ink.
to try the turn again.
He fell before the second post.
Then rose without a cry,
You only raised your hand a bit.
as if to tell him why.
My own skates waited by the door, the leather cracked and worn,
But I stayed near the counter still.
to watch the afternoon.
The band began a slower tune.
The lamps came on in rows
You tied another careful bow.
and warmed your fingers close. One loop looser.
Nothing grand or wise,
Only space enough for pain.
to leave a pair of eyes.
One loop looser.
The knot was still secure,
Yet something in the way you tied
made winter less unsure.
Years may take the rink away,
The heater, rails and song,
the rented skates with painted marks,
the mittens left too long.
but not the lesson of your hands.
Plain as a working rule,
What wishes to go farther must not be fastened cruel. One loop looser.
softly at the start,
You gave the boy his balance back.
and never called it art.
One loop looser.
I see it now and then,
The kindest hold in all the world.
let someone move again.
The exchange was lit by one desk lamp, the wall clock nearing 2, and rain along through. You sat before the switchboard there, with pencils in a jar. The cotton cords in hanging rows, the town asleep and far. A doctor called from County Road. His voice came thin and crossed. A mother in the hospital had asked before she lost. Her son was somewhere west of Rome on work no train could mend. You marked the slip, then kept one jack reserved until the end. You let the other callers wait, then watched the small lights burn as if a life could hold its breath, until a voice returned. Hold the line clear, hold the line clear. Let no idle word come in where one boy must appear. Hold the line clear, no one in town would know how carefully you guarded space for love to travel slow. The night clerk asked for Bedford, Maine. A farmer tried the mill. The rain went hard against the roof, then softened on the sill. You answered each with quiet hands, then moved the cord aside, so nothing crossed that waiting place where distance had to ride. At 3, the overseas call came back, a crackle, then a name. You leaned close to the mouthpiece there and did not sound the same. Hold on, you said, and patched him through, your finger on the key. And all the room grew still enough to hear what could not be. You looked away before they spoke, but left the circuit true. The rain kept time for every word that passed because of you. Hold the line clear, hold the line clear, till the miles grow small enough for one voice to come near. Hold the line clear, plain work beneath the light. Yet all of October leaned in close across that wire tonight. Some partings where no station smoke, no waving from a door. They wait inside a numbered room and ask the wires for more. And some hands know the mercy of doing less, not more, keeping the world from speaking until one voice comes ashore. Hold the line clear, hold the line clear, for the word that has to find the one who needs to hear. Hold the line clear, I saw your hand stay still, and learn that silence held with care can carry what words will.
Twilight thinned along the pane. The embers breathed below. A phonograph began again, in little turns and slow.
You moved the velvet chair aside, I moved the smaller one, until the rug lay clear and wide, where all the day was done.
Your slipper found the old waltz place. My hand remembered too.
A little starlight touched your face and silvered all the blue. Before the record slept, we found one waltz the evening kept, and held our ears in step by step. Before the record slept.
The supper things were put away. Your apron on the nail.
The lamp made gold of end of day, and warm of every pail.
You said, my darling, not too fast,
so softly with a smile,
as if the years could never pass,
while we could turn a while. The phonograph grew faint and thin.
The fire leaned low and wide.
A hush of reverie came in
and sat with us
beside.
No serenade came through the street.
No silver trumpet shone.
Only your heartbeat near my sleeve.
And all the day was gone.
And I knew how devotion stays
when all the bright years go.
It keeps one quiet waltz alive.
When the embers lean low. Before the record slept,
we found one waltz
the evening kept, and held our ears in step by step. Before the record slept.
The record made one final round.
The embers turned to gold.
Still on the rug our shadows swayed,
more dear for growing old.
The last cart squeaked along the aisle. The children's room was swept, and somewhere near the history shelf a loose blind softly leapt. You stood behind the lending desk with ink upon your hand, the drawers of cards pushed nearly shut, the clock at 6:10 passed. I brought you one thin book of poems, its cover rubbed in green, and watched you turn the first blank page to where the slips had been. You set the stamp, then paused a breath, as if the date might do, and pressed inside the cover there, due back Tuesday. The schoolboy paid his nickel fine, two sisters whispered low. The janitor took down his mop and let the hallway show. You mended one torn corner first with paste no wider than thread, then wrote my name in careful script before the evening spread. I said I liked the quiet hours. You said the stacks were kind, then brushed a flake of paper dust from where my sleeve had lined. The bell above the outer door gave out its closing sound, and all the words I meant to speak stayed checked and written down. Due back Tuesday, that little purple mark was only meant to send a book back safely through the dark. Due back Tuesday, I carried it away and felt how much a borrowed thing can ask of one more day. There are some rooms a man may leave without admitting why. He knows the lamp, the second chair, the raincoat hook's gone dry. I learned the hours you worked alone, the shelf you favored best, but never learned the simple art of asking what I guessed. Due back Tuesday, still clear beneath my thumb, kept marking more than paper there each time the morning came. Due back Tuesday, the date was plain and true. The book went back in time, my dear, but I was late with you. At closing, when the lamps went off, the oak gave up its day, and in the slot beside the door, one green book slid away. Twilight thinned on window glass, the cobblestone shone blue. A little bell gave one soft sigh and pulled the dark streets through. The velvet kept the carriage warm, the brass rail held its gleam. My silhouette beside the pane looked lighter than a dream. One woman left with parcel string one man with coat and cane. Their footsteps faded from the stones and would not come again. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell, we passed the baker's shuttered door, the florist dark and still. A thread of starlight touched the roofs above the climbing hill. I did not mean to lift my head or let the blue streets call, yet something in that thinning light remembered me at all. The window kept a little star, the wires gave back a sigh. A hush of reverie rode near, then drifted slowly by. No serenade came through the square, no voice spoke out my name. Only the bell, the rails, the dark, the city just the same. And yet I think some evenings hold a tenderness too well, the way a whole lost world returns where one last lamp once fell. Where the last lamp fell, the whole old corner came in sight, then slipped once more into the night. Where the last lamp fell, the tram moved on through sleeping blocks, the lamps grew faint and small. Still one last patch of silver stayed where night had touched the wall. Twilight thinned along the wall, the embers kept their red. The phonograph beneath the lamp turned one soft waltz instead. You moved the velvet chair for me, I moved the smaller one, until a little floor appeared where all the day was done. Your slippers brushed the woven rug, my shoes gave back a sigh, and all at once the narrow room felt wider than the sky. When the chair stood aside, the little room grew wide and mild, and held us like a quiet child. When the chair stood aside, the mantel held one wedding frame, the curtains breathed the blue. A thread of starlight crossed the pane and found its way to you. You said, my darling, not too fast, so lightly with a smile. And every step across the floor made time stand still a while. The phonograph grew soft and thin, the embers leaned to gold. Yet footsteps in that humble room sounded neither tired nor old. No serenade came through the street, no grand occasion shone. Only the chairs against the wall and us when day was gone. And then I knew how love makes room, not by the words we say, but by the things we set aside to let the heart have way. When the chair stood aside, the little room grew wide and mild, and held us like a quiet child. When the chairs stood aside, the record turned, the lamp burned low, the starlight kissed the floor. Still one small space between two chairs felt blessed forevermore. By 7, all the stools were filled with caps, lunch pails, and thread. A seamstress with her cuff still pinned, 2 brothers smelling faintly of bread. You wrote the date up in the corner, turned and tucked one strand away, then sounded out the longest word as if it wished to stay. The radiator knocked below, a cart went rattling through the square, and every letter on the board looked calmer for your care. You never laughed at halted mouths or hands that gripped too tight. You only tapped the margin once and brought the sentence right. My pencil split, you crossed the room and lent your knife to me, then laid the shavings in your palm as neatly as could be. The lamp made islands on the desks, the window dull to cold. You said again so quietly, it seemed to steady all the chalk on your palm, the chalk on your palm, white as the proof a hard thing can grow mild. You carried all evening's broken sounds and never made one feel like a child. The chalk on your palm, the chalk on your palm, I watched it shine when you lowered your hand, and thought there are some who teach the tongue, and some who teach a man to stand. Years may leave their sums unpaid, their rent due sharp, their winters long, yet one clear word correctly kept can set a crooked day less wrong. And what you brushed from off the board did not quite vanish with the line. It stayed upon your sleeve and skin, a little patience made visible. The chalk on your palm, the chalk on your palm, the chalk on your palm. After the copybooks closed and the last chair slid, you gathered the stubs in a tobacco tin like bits of faith from what the evening did. The chalk on your palm, the chalk on your palm. No jewel could have seemed half so fine, for I went down the darkened stairs with half your brightness on my mind. The grocer barred his lower door, the hallway smelled of apples and coal, and on the rail where your hand had passed, one pale mark rode with me home.
Twilight rests upon the frames, the wallpaper turns gold, a phonograph begins to breathe its little tale of old. You do not ask me for the dance, you only cross the room and draw my chair a little back, as if to lift the gloom. When the lamp grew small, your hand still found me sure and mild, and made the tired room reconciled. When the lamp grew small, the teacups pale beside the grate, the embers breathe in red. You murmur, darling, near my cheek, the way you always said. The window keeps one silver star, the rug remembers grace. A little hush of reverie falls over time and place. No grand serenade fills the stair, no trumpet stirs the air. Yet in the light upon your sleeve, I feel how love lives there. When the lamp grew small, your hand still found me sure and mild,
and made the tired room reconcile. When the lamp grew small, the record thins to whispered dust. The fire withdraws to rose. Still one soft measure lingers on, where only starlight knows.
The stair comes up behind the nave in one close turning flight. The sexton shakes the runner out, and dust goes blue on white. You stand beside the loft rail there, with 3 books on your arm, and lay the ribbons page by page, as if to keep them calm. The organ has not found its breath, the choir bench still is bare, and mine is opened, ribbon laid, before I reach the stair. You test the pitch pipe once, then stop, too soft for downstairs ears. Then brush one coal smudge from the rail that gathers every year. The ribbon in the hymnal, red against the fading line, makes the old words seem to know they shall be found again in time. The ribbon in the hymnal, that was your way, and now it stays in mine. When winter pressed the early dark against the colored glass, and tired voices climbed the stair, too late, too cold, too fast. You never asked for any thanks, you never raised your tone, you only marked the place to sing, and made the place feel known. The ribbon in the hymnal, red against the evening brown, still tells the hand that opens there where to begin when light goes down. The ribbon in the hymnal, some kindnesses are made that small and sound. The benches fill, the first chord comes, the lamp burns near the wall, and in the book you left for me, your quiet care outsings us all.
The embers breathed below. A phonograph began to play in little turns and slow. I moved the velvet chair aside. You folded back the throw. The rug lay open, warm and wide, where evening used to go. Your silhouette came through the blue, in slipper, sleeve and grace. And all at once the room I knew grew younger in its place. When the needle trembled, we kept the old waltz moving light, and held the measure through the slide. When the needle trembled, you said, my darling, not too fast, so softly, with a smile. The little record thinning cast its sigh from file to file. It caught one breath, then found its way. And so, to my surprise, we turned as if the smallest sway could keep the song alive. The starlight touched the window glass. The fire gave back its gold. A reverie moved through the room, more dear for growing old. No serenade came through the street, no silver trumpets shone, only the faith beneath our feet. When all the day was gone, and then I knew what love can do. When brighter years have dimmed, it hears the music falter once, and dances with the hymn. When the needle trembled, we kept the old waltz moving light, and held the measure through the slight. When the needle trembled, evening settled on the frames. One lamp rehearsed its gold. the phonograph with patient grace unpinned the early cold. You did not ask me for the dance, you only crossed the room and smoothed the crease upon my sleeve, as if to mend the gloom. The velvet curtains held the rain, the hearth kept back the blue, and every little thing we owned fell hushed to look at you. Then your dear shoulder brushed my own so lightly, almost shy, and all the loud and foolish years went quiet by and by. When the room grew gold, the dark released its claim, and even time turned kind again. When the room grew gold, the teacups had gone pale with steam, the embers breathed in red. You smiled the way you once had smiled, before a word was said. No miracle had entered there, no splendor asked to be, unless one counts the homely grace of your still knowing me. Outside the rain ran dark and thin, and silvered down the glass. Inside, one small obedient waltz made all the old hours pass. No serenade came down the stair, no bright bouquet was thrown, but when you laid your cheek to mine, I knew I had come home. When the room grew gold, the dark released its claim, and even time turned kind again. When the room grew gold, the record thinned to dust and hush, the fire withdrew to rose. Still starlight lay across the rug in little afterglows, and long after the lamp burned small, and long after the weather rolled, my heart kept one last measure there. When the room grew gold, The ropes were loosed without a fuss. The bell gave one small sound. The water took the ferry side and pulled the shoreline round. The river wore a pewter sheen. The gulls kept to the stern. Your hat was pinned against the wind. Your collar softly turned. The bench along the outer rail still held the morning through. I saw you pause before you sat and knew what I must do. I spread the market pages down across the painted slats. The grocer's ad, the racing odds, the weather, this and that. So nothing cold should find its way through wool and age and sense. The paper on the bench. You sat and spoke of common things, the butcher and his knee, your sister's letter from the coast, the pears still on the tree. The ferry cut the river wide in slow and patient halves, and every little thing you said made homely all the draft. No vow was ever needed there above the diesel hum. No rose, no grand demonstrative word, no drum for what we've done. For love, when it has had its years, grows practical and quick. It sees the damp before you do and minds it with a flick. I spread the market pages down before you even knew, and all the newsprint in the world turned warm by sheltering you. At landing, when you rose again, the wet had left no trace, only the faint shape where you'd been and one dry, tended place. The paper on the bench, I folded it beneath my arm when all the crossing passed. One headline blurred, one corner torn by river wind at last. And somehow that poor common sheet was finer than it sounds. For all the day it seemed to keep the shape of where you'd lean down.